This is going to go over the steps, creating a quick true-false, and this will be a false statement that will be wiped away. After you have some text in your composition, draw out a rectangle just to create an interesting border, and you can adjust the border up here if you want it to be thinner or thicker. Back to 20. To get rid of the solid fill, click on Fill and make sure none is selected. Gotta add a trim path right over here and scroll on down till you find Trim Paths, and that will trim the path. If you want your path to go out the other way, so counterclockwise, just click this arrow right here and reverses the path. Consider this the countdown timer. If you want to offset this trim, you can use this number to offset the degrees, such as by 90 degrees. You can just visualize it. If you want to start at this corner, right down here, that will be 180 degrees. And the end point will go like this. So starting with a key right here at frame 0. Let's give it 3 seconds. So Control Shift right arrow. Well, that's 1 second. 2 seconds. Let's do 2 seconds and make that 100%. Let's preview this animation. Go back to frame 0, press the space bar. That should be long enough to read. A good tip is to read it out loud or read it in your mind out loud. And that's how long text should stay up on screen, at least. Stay a little longer if it's doing things. This is a false statement. Need the word false. Text tool, typing the word false. I'm going to give it the same color as the border. Eyedropper, and there's the color. Let me recenter this border. Going under a line, and pick center there for horizontally and vertically. And now I'm going to scale the word up. Let's say at frame, since it resolves at frame 60, this border, let's go to frame 75, a half a second over. And selecting the text layer of false, expose the transformations, and going to put rotation, scale, and position. Going to put keyframes in for those. Going back to frame 60 and rotating it, scaling it bigger, dragging the F a little bit over here so you can see the word false appear. This is the frame that resolves. To make a little bump happen, going to this last keyframe, I'll move over holding down the Control and right arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. Setting a keyframe again for scale by clicking here. Going back a few frames, 1, 2, and increasing the scale. And that creates a little extra bump. So it lands and bumps back out again. Okay, add in by selecting these 2 frames. Okay, add some transition to it. Going to the graph editor, selecting all 3 of these keys here, and selecting this icon for easy ease. Click here to go back to the timeline view. Okay. Preview the animation again. Now, we don't want the word false to be always hanging out here. Select this track, press the Alt or Option and the left bracket to trim. can adjust the sliding of this word by clicking on it and just dragging it into a new position. Now that this is done, let's deal with the background. Turning off this false layer, just focus in on the background layer. Selecting the words in the background, going to Effects and Presets, picking Shatter, and dropping it onto this layer. Shatter is a simulation. See that it's listed under simulations over here. If I got rid of the word shatter and scrub on down to simulations, you can find all the different types of simulations. To see a live preview what's going on, click here and select rendered, select shape, and for the shape type, scroll on down and select glass. And there it is happening. Now to prevent it from happening at frame 1, I'm going to have to adjust some parameters and then take control over this effect. Closing up shape, going to force 1, setting the force down to 0, means no shatter is happening, setting the radius down to 0. We'll remove that little crack that was appearing there. And scrub the timeline forward until you see the word false appear. Right about here where it bumps into the word, and you can know where it is by looking at the keyframes. So right here, that's where one frame before here, and to get one frame before there, Control key, left arrow, going to the background text, setting a key for the radius and the strength. And this is under force 1. Moving forward a frame or two, let's say around here, increasing the strength and increasing the radius. Since it's a simulation, it'll just play out by itself. For the radius, let me press the U key to expose the parameters. Go into the keyframe for the radius. Let me set that to 0.1. And you can increase the number until you get a look that you like. 0.2, 0.5. That seems to get all the words. Now what controls it falling down, going to physics, is gravity. When gravity is 0, then this will just explode out from the center evenly. When gravity is greater than 0, let's say 10, it'll have a greater impact of the moving of the effect downward. To change the direction instead of downward, gravity direction, 180 degrees pointing down. If you want to go upward, make that 0. Now everything goes upward. Instead of all this, gravity sending back to 0. And there's everything floating away. That was one take on making everything explode away. For an alternative way, let's go to Project and duplicate this project. Command D, Control D on a PC. Go open this up, selecting the text layer, going to Effects, and I'm removing Shattered. Instead of shattering, let's make everything disappear like dust. Under Simulations, or just typing in here, find Scatter, CC Scatter, and apply that to the background. In Scatter, we'll make particles puff away like this. So this might be a more fun effect. With going to this first frame where the false bumps into the background text, click on Scatter, and from there onward, let's say up here, you could just increase scattering to a high number like this.